Hello everyone, this is Richard from Modern Healthspan. Today we're going to have a look at a smartwatch from YHE. So this smartwatch will track your heart rate, your HRV, your activities, sleep. But one of the key features of the watch is that it has an inbuilt blood pressure monitor. So it can monitor your blood pressure wherever you are. And you can even use it in the middle of exercise if that's what you want to do, to see what your blood pressure is like when you're exercising. Now, this watch was sent to me for review by the company, but they've had no input into the video, and this is entirely my opinion. So the watch comes in a box that looks like this, and the watch itself is here. So it's very nicely made, has a nice screen, and you can change this, this face here if you want to. It is a little bit chunky, and I think that's because, you know, it has a cuff that it inflates when it's measuring your blood pressure on the inside. And so, you know, it needs enough battery and kind of a air pump to be able to pump up that cuff. In the box, you also have a charging unit. So this just plugs in with a USB cord into a, you know, kind of USB plug. And then you can clip the watch in and it charges in about 1.5 hours, about 2 hours, and the charge lasts for about a day and a half to 2 days. So let's have a look at the applications on the watch. So it does have these two buttons, the power button, and this one brings up the application menu. So once you've turned the watch on, it shows you the watch face. Now the watch face can be changed. It has a number of default watch faces. If you click on that and hold, then you can switch between different analog or digital faces. We'll go back to this one, which is the default face. Now from here, I can sweep down, and this brings up like a quick access panel. So you can turn on and off Bluetooth, put it into silent mode. This gear takes you into the settings, and we'll have a look at that later, and you can kind of change the brightness of the screen, and there's some other settings here. I can sweep to the right, and this brings up kind of a tracking of my activity. So, you know, I didn't wear the watch today when I went out, so it doesn't have any kilometers for me so far. I can sweep down, and now I have not connected it to any messaging system, so at the moment I have no messages, but it will show them here. If I sweep to the right, then it shows me the blood pressure. So here I have the blood pressure reading. So this was my last reading, 116/73 with 63 beats per minute heart rate. Now, if I was wearing this, I could press the start button and it would take a blood pressure reading. Sweep again to the right, and we have the heart rate, 66 beats per minute. And one more bring up the SpO2, which was 98%. So I can bring up the applications by clicking on this. If the watch is off, you can use a long click to bring this up. And here we have the main applications. So we have the blood pressure. So this is taking me into the blood pressure monitor, and you can see it has the same values as it did before. But this time, if I sweep to the left, it goes into guess mode. So it tracks your blood pressure and keeps a record of it. And in this case, if you don't want a blood pressure reading to go into your record, perhaps it's because one of your friends is going to use the watch, or because you just didn't want that reading to go into your record, then you can use guess mode and it will just record it and give you a blood pressure reading, which is a nice feature. So again, we can get into the SpO2 that we talked about before, and again, heart rate to measure kind of on demand. Does track your workouts. So here you can add different workouts. It has an alarm, tracks calories, does track your sleep. And we will have a look at that on the application on the phone, because I think it's kind of easier to see there. Does show you the weather in your region. And here we have the settings. So the settings is the same settings that you can get from that quick access screen that we first saw at the beginning. So here, I can have settings for the display. I can go into the display. I can set the screen timeout. So the default screen timeout is actually 5 seconds, which I found was kind of too short. So I have changed it to 20 seconds. You can also change the brightness. And in this case, I have the brightness quite high because I wanted to show it well on the camera. I've also switched it to always on. So you can keep it so that the face is always being shown. Obviously, this has an impact on the battery life. And again, I've just done that because I'm doing the demo at the moment. And then we can get here, we can also do the dial theme. Have a couple of alerts that it has. So one is this move alert, and the other one is an apnea alert. So sleep apnea is where you have trouble breathing in your sleep. And this often leads to snoring, and it also leads to bad quality sleep. And so the watch, I think what it's doing is looking at your SpO2 values. And if your SpO2 goes down, then it gives you a little alert and wakes you up. So I have tried setting this. As you can see, it's on, and it has woken me up a couple of times. And so that may well be stopping me snoring. And in any case, it should be helping with my the quality of my sleep. And then we have some kind of about, you can change the language and the unit systems and reset the watch. And then we have HRV. So we'll have a look at the HRV on the application on the phone again. But what it does for HRV, instead of giving you kind of an average number, it gives you a Lorenz plot. And we'll talk about how that works when we have a look at it on the phone. The watch connects to an application, iOS or Android, via Bluetooth. The data is synchronized to the app. You can decide which of these panels to have on the screen in this Edit Card section. The default is to have them all. Here is my blood pressure readings from today and where they fit into the target range. We do have a blood pressure monitor at home, so we compared the results of the watch with that of the monitor. Here are mine and Mrs. Modern's results compared in a table. You can see that it was quite accurate, although there was some variability. It does seem to be more sensitive to the conditions when being measured, but it is a much smaller and more convenient device. There are similar screens for SpO2 and HR, so I won't go into these here. The HRV is quite interesting. At the top, it has the heart rate. Mine averaged 58 beats per minute this night. There is then a heart health index, where I have 88 in this case, and a Lorenz scatter plot as a way of measuring the HRV. I had not heard of this before, so I had to look it up. There are many papers covering the Lorenz plots for visualizing HRV. Here are a couple of the papers that cover the topic. It is a scatter plot where each point is plotted against the previous difference in the RR peaks, where R is a specific point in the heartbeat cycle. The horizontal axis has the previous RR, and the vertical, the current. The plots make different shapes, and based on these shapes, it is possible to predict cardiac illnesses. This sample is a comet and shows normal behavior. Here are some sample plots, and here is mine. The comet and the rocket are healthy, and others have possible issues associated with them. So quite cool to get this from a watch. The watch also monitors sleep. On this night, I had 8 hours and 11 minutes. It shows the deep sleep, light sleep, and awake times. It also gives a sleep quality score. Here, mine was 90. Below this is a graph of the sleep components and a table with the times. The watch does not separate out REM sleep from light sleep. As we saw on the watch, it also has an activity tracker where it shows the number of steps taken. This can be viewed by day, week, or year. You can also add family members and set up remote monitoring for them, though this is not something I have tried yet. So let's have a look at what happens when you press the blood pressure monitor. So we'll press start, and if we turn to the side, you'll see that the cuff is inflating. And so this is what it does when it wants to measure your pressure, the blood pressure, by creating an obstruction on your wrist. Okay, so let's try it on my wrist. So I do have the watch set at around my heart level, though my position is not ideal because I'm making this video. And now I can feel the cuff inflating and the pressure on my wrist as it's taking my blood pressure. So let's just give it a few seconds to complete the process. And there you are, it's finished, 113/79, 64 beats per minute. So that is probably pretty accurate and correct. For me, it's an interesting device. And once I got the process for measuring my blood pressure correct, it was pretty accurate. And it was very convenient to be able to measure my blood pressure wherever I was. If you're interested in looking at the device in more detail, it is available at the link in the description. It is $199 US. And if you use the code ModernHealthSpan, you will get an extra strap with the device. Thank you for your attention. I wish you all well, and I will speak to you again soon.